But so what we want to do right now is just any questions that you guys have about importing, about private labeling, about sourcing. Obviously, you guys all know that Liran and I, the cornerstone of our business is private label and building our own brands on Amazon and beginning to do it on other marketplaces as well. And so let's go ahead and Liran, if you want to see the first question there, go for it.
So first question from Marty. How do you decide if it's a good product to private label? Everything seems so competitive.
I'm going to let you answer.
You're kind of right. Everything does seem really competitive and saturated, but when you sort of drill down into the Amazon catalog, you can still find a lot of listings that are doing well, that are merchant fulfilled. Where if you were to do FBA, you could beat those. You can find listings with bad reviews where you can improve on the product or do better. You can find listings with bad photography. So there's still, even though from the outside everything seems really competitive, we're still able to launch products into areas that we've been posting recently about Todd. Todd's had a product that he launched within the last month that's 4,000 ranking toys right now. So just brand new product, just launched it and selling a lot of it. So there's still a tremendous amount of opportunity. Abe asks, how do you boost rank on new to market items if you can't give product away? Are there options besides sponsored ads? So I'll answer that one. It's a misconception, Abe, basically, that you can't do product giveaways. So you still can do product giveaways. We still do it. You just can't do it in exchange for a review. And there's still ways to do giveaways to obtain rank. I'll let Andy answer the next one. What would you do different if you started today?
If I was just getting started today without the knowledge that I had back then, I guess that's the premise of your question. I'll be honest, I think one of the best, I don't know if I would do it different. One of the best decisions that I made when I started privately, and now remember, I'd already been selling on Amazon for about 16 months. All that part-time, had good success with retail arbitrage, with online arbitrage, a little bit of wholesale. And so when I dove into private label, though, I actually paid a coach to help me. That's Maggie Cuson. I talk about her often. And she showed me the ropes. And I honestly, I would not do that any other way. And so, my encouragement to you, to all folks, you can do this without the 16 months of experience under your belt like I had. And if you secure somebody who knows what they're doing, who's willing to coach you and kind of hold your hand, her ability to be able to answer questions when I had questions, that made all the difference. And so, to be honest, I would probably do the same thing, now. And I definitely was hesitant at first, had never paid anybody like that before. But looking back on it, that is the absolute best money that I ever spent on anything. And so, that's how I would do it.
Okay, so Brian asks, what steps do you take to prepare yourself for PL? I'm not sure what the question is, but exactly. But in terms of preparing yourself for PL, excuse me, you need to do your research in terms of looking at Amazon, looking at how many reviews your competitors have, creating a really good title and bullets and photography, what keywords you're going to position your products to try to target, to try to rank for. So all those things are things that you do, really ahead of time before you decide to pull the trigger on a product. Marty asks, what would you consider to be a healthy amount of money to start private label?
Yeah, so I've had members in my course, actually Donald Schaefer, he's on here right now. He started with like $500 was his first product. And that was the total cost that he had into it. Donald, you can correct me if I'm wrong there. But that's how we started. And so you can do that. Typically, I recommend that you want to have probably $2,500, to be able to spend on a product. And you're going to need that amount because you got to purchase the product as well as you got to pay for shipping. And the biggest problem, right, that people have when they start the private label, when they pick a good product, and so, again, that goes back to understanding how to pick a good product, is generally you run out of stock. And so, what we both say is you want to order 500 units, minimum. And Todd, who we've been posting about in the group, he ordered 1,000 units. And he's going to run out of that within probably, 3 weeks? Mm-hmm. He's going to run out of 1,000 units in 3 weeks. The sales price on that is like $35, or maybe now he has it up like at $38 or $39. And picture that, 1,000 units gone, right, in 3 weeks. And so, you want to leverage a capital. And so having 2,500 is probably a good starting point.
Yeah, and I mean, I think also if you're launching into a big, either a seasonal product or into Q4, it probably makes sense to order, more units because you probably will go out of stock if you do things right.
Real quick follow-up. So Donald is in the group, if you see his comment. So he's still launching PL items for around 1,200 landed at Amazon.
I saw Marianne ask the question as far as what tools you use to do product research. So there's actually a couple different ways you can do product research. One way is without any tools, just using looking through the Amazon catalog, I also use Jungle Scout to do product research. Jungle Scout web app is a pretty good tool for product research. Let's see. Is it bad to launch your first product in the first quarter?
No. I think you want to be strategic if it's a seasonal product. If you're launching, say you're launching something outdoor that you would use maybe like for grilling, you don't want to launch that right at the beginning of winter. You want to try to time it so that you're launching it at the top of the season, right? Top of the selling season. But if it's not a seasonal product, again, going back to doing good research, you can launch it any time of the year.
And Marty, these are questions people ask because we're all afraid to pull the trigger on a product, right? You're bringing a new product to market and you don't know how it's going to do. So you try to sort of give yourself these objections, but it's really, again, unless it's a real seasonal item, I wouldn't launch a summer product on January 1st. But otherwise, there's really not a bad time to launch a product as long as it's a good opportunity. So this is a good one from Amber. What kind of questions do you ask suppliers when you're first starting?
All right, I'm gonna let you take it.
So the kind of questions you wanna ask suppliers is tell you kind of about the quality of the product, to tell you if they're able to make customizations if you needed them to the product, how long it takes to produce, what's the production time for the product. Obviously, you want to talk to them about what's the minimum order requirement and pricing. You want to ask them to see if they have other sort of variations or other colors or what else they have with that product, and if they can customize that if you wanted to. So these are all questions that you're going to want to talk to the supplier. I also ask suppliers, like I'll read bad reviews of other products and I'll bring up those things to the supplier. Like, I've seen some other products where the item breaks, because of this and this reason. Like, what do you do to make sure that doesn't happen, for example? And then kind of see what they say, if they have a good answer for it or not. And then obviously you want to get samples, how long it takes to get samples, and kind of move on to the next phase with them.
So I have one here. I'll go. It's in the chat here.
Sure.
So Tyson, I see yours. It says, what percentage of PL items are successful versus those that fail? That's probably a really tough question to answer. It really probably depends on the seller. I think that it's like anything. You get better as you go. But I'll be honest, and I say this often. I have not really had a product yet that's totally bombed out. The worst that has happened for me is I've had to drop the price and I've broken even, or maybe I've lost like $1 or $1.50 per unit. And so I'm able to sell through those, right? And then not reorder. But, for me now going into this, I'll be going in over a little over 2 years. I pretty much have an idea when I'm picking a product. Again, it's always based on customer demand that product is not going to fail. And so, that's probably my best answer. I don't know how you would answer that one, Ron.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's normal to have product failures. If you don't have any failures, you haven't really taken enough risk in terms of launching products, I think. But like Andy said, I haven't really had a product that I couldn't sell at all or anything. I've had products that were slow sellers, or I've had to drop the price on, break even, and kind of try to get out of them. So there's a good question on PPC from Michael. What are some of the biggest mistakes you see sellers making with PPC? So I'll answer that. Basically, one, the biggest mistake probably is sellers don't really understand PPC, so they're not using it. Two, just setting up auto campaigns, never looking at them again. That's something a lot of people do because they don't understand how to download the reports. They don't understand the differences between, so something very key is to understand the difference between a keyword and a search term, right? A keyword is, could be a broad keyword of shoes, let's say, but that keyword, if it's a broad term, can trigger, baby shoes, for example. So understanding those differences, understanding how to download the reports and optimizing campaigns is something most sellers don't really understand. And so they either set up auto campaigns that are too expensive, or they just don't do sponsored ads at all. And, you're losing out on a big opportunity with sponsored ads. EJ, I think that's how you say your name, EJ, is asking, for separate brands, do you open up separate Amazon accounts? If so, is it worth doing if you're not planning to expand in that niche? I personally don't. There are some people that do. The one benefit is if you think you might sell that Amazon account in the future, it could be helpful, but it's also sort of a little bit of a nightmare to manage, so I personally don't do it. Okay, so let's see. So Jonathan asks, what methods would you use to determine what to private label? Do you look to improve upon existing products, copy a successful product but differentiate with better listing in PPC, look for what is being searched for but no existing offers, or none of the above?
So my typical way, and the way that I encourage other people to do, is you want to look for keywords that are being heavily searched for. Obviously, if those keywords are being heavily searched for, there's going to be product on Amazon. I like to bring product to market where I can see that there's already customer demand for. Because going back to an earlier question, right? Like if you picked a bad product, typically if you pick a product that there's clear customer demand for, and even if the product, ends up bombing, you can still sell through that product because you've done the work and you know that customers want it, right? So if you got good margin, you can drop your price. And so that's kind of my advice. You want to pick products, right, that have the keywords. I don't know what else you would add to that.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that really struck with me that Andy teaches is, go where there's customer demand, right? So if you go where there's customer demand, that's the first step. The next step is, how can I differentiate? Can I make something with different sizes, different colors? Can I make it, can I make an improvement upon the product? Can I make better images? Can I make a better listing? So all those things are important to, differentiate the product. Can I bundle it with something else? But you want to go for where that customer demand is already there. And then see if you can compete with other listings on the first page.
And I'll just add to that. So I have a recent product I partner with Lance Ensign on. He just has a phenomenal mind. He's an engineer. And so he saw a product that's on Amazon. Actually, Amazon themselves sell the product. Here's another, what I'll call a pro tip for you too. Don't be afraid if Amazon is selling the product thinking that you can't compete with them, okay? So with this product, Amazon had been selling this brand for a long time. But guess what? the product page and the actual product had become stale. And so it's a major brand. They sell, boatloads of them to Amazon, and then they basically leave it up to Amazon to do the job of selling the product. Well, the listing, the photos, they were okay, but they had never improved upon the product. So my partner Lance found this one, and he thought about some very simple improvements that he could make to this product. And guess what? We've captured all of their sales. And so, this guy had a bunch of reviews. We came and we made a better product, again, tweaking it in little bit of ways. The manufacturer was able to do that. And so now our product is #1 ranked, right, for the keywords for this niche. So definitely, you want to add and improve if you can.
Yep. So James is asking, is it possible to release products in competitive categories given the Amazon changes to reviews? What are your recommendations to have a successful launch in a competitive category such as beauty and health and personal care? So there isn't like one category that I would say you need to avoid. There might be like products I would say you should avoid that are just too saturated. Garlic presses, right? Barbecue gloves, like the typical products that have been like way overdone, and there's more listings on Amazon than customer demand. You want to get away from, but there aren't really categories that I would stay away from. The fact that somebody can't launch a product today and get 500 or 1,000 reviews within a month by just having deep pockets and giving away a lot of units sort of levels the playing field. So it makes it easier for a new seller to come in. But if for that specific sort of keyword, every other product on the first page of Amazon has 500, 600 reviews, then yeah, it's going to be hard for you to compete against those other sellers, because people are going to be less likely to click on your listing when you have 10 reviews versus somebody who has 1,000. So there are keywords, products that you want to stay away from, but I wouldn't say categories.
So Abe has a question. How quickly do you know if an item will be a winner or loser? I've heard 3 to 4 months, but I've also heard much shorter times. I would say that's a pretty accurate number. I would give 3 to 4 months. A lot of times for winners, you're going to know right away. So like this product that Todd launched, he put it on there, like immediate organic sales. I just launched a product with Sharon Watts. We put it on there and it was like immediate. We started getting organic sales. Generally, when you do that and you start getting those organic sales immediately, that's winner, chicken dinner, right? It's a great product. Sometimes, though, products need a little more massaging, and it just depends, like, on how aggressive you want to be. Like he said earlier, if you start doing a lot of giveaways and you're still not able to get that ranked, at the end of 4 months, you might have an idea if that's going to be a loser.
Okay, so we have what percentage of product reviews are you getting back in your review solicitation sequences? For example, send out email sequences to 10 customers, receive 2 reviews. What service do you use for review solicitation? So I'll answer that one. If you have really good follow-up sequences, you can probably get a 5 to 6% review hit. There are several services out there. Feedback Genius, Feedback 5, Kibly, JumpSend, managed by Stats. A lot of them sort of do the same thing. One of the things that I'm working on right now is revamping my email sequences where I provide more value to the customers rather than just asking them for a review. So as an example, in my first email, I don't ask for a review. I just say your product is shipped, and then I give them some instructions on how to use the product, how to get the most out of the product, and I give them value first so that they stay they look at my emails when the second and third one come out and do give me back that review. But I try to give value of some sort in every email, and I'm actually working on revamping my entire sequence right now to do better with that.
So I have a question here. If you guys can hear Liran's voice, he's like actually losing his voice. He's been sick, but he's a champ and he's motoring through. So definitely give him some thumbs up, all right, when he's talking. So here's a question from Adam. When you're looking for a product to private label, is there a method to see all products, say under 200,000, right, in search? There is. So we use a tool. It's called Jungle Scout, and you can actually filter. There's a number of things you can filter by. You can filter by listings that aren't optimized. And so there's still a lot of listings on Amazon that maybe only have one picture, right? But that have like under 10,000 rank in a certain category. That's probably a product that you might want to try to go after if it's showing that customer demand. They only got one picture, and maybe the picture is like of the product on their bed, so maybe the picture is just poop, like somebody would put on eBay. That's probably a product, right, that you want to try to go after as long as there's, it's not too saturated.
And, I found that, talking about competing against Amazon, I found that Amazon employees are kind of lazy when they create listings. So private label sellers are a lot more creative. They probably, because they care a lot more, it's their own product. So I've seen listings where private label sellers just, blow the water out of Amazon. Okay, so let's see. How do you gauge demand in categories such as clothing, shoes, handbags, due to having at times no direct comparables or so many that perform differently? So some of those categories are difficult. I've never launched a product in handbags where it doesn't have a bestseller rank. If I couldn't, gauge a bestseller rank, I probably wouldn't, dive deep into that category. So maybe Andy could talk about this one. Any thoughts from Jeff Roth? Any thoughts on seller fulfilled Prime for private label products and the potential to eliminate shipping costs to Amazon?
Yeah, I think that seller fulfilled Prime is going to become bigger and bigger. Amazon has already given us indicators they're raising their fees. We all were hit super hard, right, with the November and December fees. And so they are actually pushing big companies. I know this for a fact. I just had dinner with an executive at Hershey Foods Company. Hershey sells a lot to Amazon. Guess what, guys? This guy told me this. Amazon is pushing them to do seller fulfilled Prime because Amazon actually loses money on their fulfillment, right? They have so many warehouses. They want to offer seller fulfilled Prime to companies that they can trust, right, with that shipping process. And so, he told me that Amazon is actually pushing them. They want Hershey to have warehouses all throughout the country, and they want Hershey to do all the fulfillment. So that, yeah, if your business, if you're really building this to be a legitimate business, and you're getting bigger, you want to think about that. How awesome would it be if you had a warehouse on the West Coast, in the Midwest, and then one on the East Coast, where you could offer very good seller fulfilled Prime rates, to those local regions.
So Vicky asks, are there any companies here in the United States to source products for private label to save on shipping fees from China? So there are some people who source products in the U.S. I think one category where people do it maybe more often is maybe the beauty category, like various formulations, etc., that you can have done here. But in general, it's going to be more expensive and harder to find, a manufacturer that will actually produce for you. So I'm actually looking into a small collection of products to make, like a Made in USA collection of products for my brand. And I'm having somebody do that work for me because it's not easy you need to have like connections or, you need to do a lot of work to contact manufacturers to see if they will produce for you. And sometimes they have very high minimums they want you to produce as opposed to Chinese sellers, Chinese manufacturers. So Nick is asking, private label in U.S. only or U.S. and EU? So one of my goals for 2017 is to sell in Europe. I already have my VAT, value-added tax, that's a sales tax registration for Europe. There's a good opportunity to get into private label in Europe. It's less competitive, but a lot of people are jumping into it. So it's a good time to look at the UK market, the German market for private label. Okay, let's see here. Let's see. Lots of value. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Since I'm coming right into 2017, what do you think about buying an Amazon account so I avoid roadblocks on category selection? That would be a question that we'd have to get more detail on, what kind of Amazon account you're buying, and are they selling you their PL products they already have going? Yeah, I mean, if you have an opportunity to buy an account that is ungated for health and personal care, beauty, these are categories that are a little bit harder. It seems like to get ungated for these days. So, if it's not necessarily with inventory, if you're just buying the account, it might not be a bad idea. You could change the business name, the bank account, and sort of take over that account. You also want to look at the seller performance and the account health to make sure that you're not getting an account that has some dings on it from previous things, and kind of look at the motivation on why the person wants to sell. If they just really never really sold and took it seriously, then it may not be a bad opportunity to purchase.
So I have a question here. So Kim asked, have you created any private label products domestically? I have not, Kim. There's actually someone, though, that's in our course in Asia Amazon. He actually did $2 million in sales this year, and his product, he sources domestically. So, and he's only been doing private label for like 16 months. But this year he had over $2 million. I actually posted about it. Over $600,000 net profit. And this is actually just one product with many multiple variations. But he gets it right here in the U.S. So it is doable. It's definitely harder to find those manufacturers. But I know that there's sellers on Amazon that do that.
So Ryan is asking, why would you recommend a new seller starting private label with limited financial resources when spreading a small nest egg, $300 across RA products, can generate faster, less risky cash flow? I'll answer that. I probably wouldn't start private label with $300. You'd probably want to have a little bit of a higher budget. $1,000, $2,000, I think is better. The more capital you have to start, I think the better position you're going to be in. When you're thinking about private label, you sort of want to think of almost like reverse psychology, right? If everyone's trying to source products that are cheap, lightweight, and they can ship by air, try doing the opposite of that, and you're going to have less competition. So try sourcing products that are, a little bit more expensive, like $10 to $15 maybe to source per unit, that you have to ship by boat, that maybe are a little heavier. You're going to less competition. But yeah, that does require more capital. If you have less capital, there have been plenty of people that have started with around $1,000 and have been able to roll that. I think it really depends. A lot of people use RA to fund the beginning of their private label, product launches, because you can generate faster cash flow with RA and OA, but I think it's wise to diversify either into wholesale or private label, just because we don't know what the future is with brand restrictions on Amazon.
So someone has a question: is Amazon still okay with free giveaways for reviews? No, they are not. So you can no longer do promotional giveaways and ask for a review. You can still do discounted promotional giveaways. And so I'll discount my product like 80, 90%. What you cannot do though, when you do those giveaways, you cannot ask for a review, right? So you can still do the giveaways, which actually helps get your product ranked, but no longer can you ask for reviews.
So Marty asks, with the Chinese New Year, do you try and source a product elsewhere during that time? So I don't. I try. If you already have products that are successful, definitely. I've already got my orders in to replenish those because of the Chinese New Year. I am helping somebody, source some products right now, and what he's trying to do essentially is at least get the sample out right now, so he can get that in before Chinese New Year, and that product may not be manufactured until after Chinese New Year. So basically, Chinese New Year is like a month-long event in China because I've been there, and the factory workers generally live right next to the factory. So this year Chinese New Year is like in early February, but by the middle of January, the workers are already traveling home to be with their families and spend some time there. So they might spend a month with their family. Some of those workers don't necessarily come back to work. They find a different job, right? So there's definitely backlog, and production doesn't, is not going to start up again until like, the 10th or 15th of February. So you really have like a month-long break with Chinese New Year. So it's something that once you kind of get started with private label, you need to factor in when you're reordering products, especially after Q4, because you might run into not ordering enough products for Q4, selling out, and then having to reorder quickly before Chinese New Year.
So Ralph, I see your question. How do you both manage your finances back office as you scale? Do you have VAs for financial help? So I actually just met with an accountant locally in Hershey that they're going to be doing all of my accounting and all of my bookkeeping now. It'll be right around $250 to $300 a month. I also have a VA that helps me organize all of my bookkeeping as well, and she works in my Amazon account. I give her user permission, and she's very reasonable. So that's what I pay. That's how I handle my accounting.
Yeah, for me, the same thing. I have an accountant, and they have a bookkeeper. So on a monthly basis, they kind of reconcile everything. They do my sales tax. They do my monthly payroll, and then I also have a U.S.-based assistant. Not full time, but when I need stuff done, I ask her for help. And then next year, I'm looking to kind of expand that team to maybe having like a operations manager for my Amazon account. Okay. Any other questions here?
I don't see any other comments or questions here in the thread that's on the live. So if anybody has them, put them in now. Otherwise, Liran and I are going to take off. Thanks a lot, you guys, for hanging out with us. If you joined late, we're going to upload it here in a second. You can go back. You can watch the beginning. Had a lot of really good questions that hopefully we were able to help answer. Again, just, I know there's a lot of new people in the group. Liran and I both are private label sellers, so we import our goods from China, from India. We put them under our brand, and that's how we sell on Amazon. So we think that it's a wildly successful model. We think that it is the best model to sell on Amazon. We highly encourage you, if you're already selling or if you're just thinking about selling, to definitely do more research and look into it. So Jeff, I see your question here. What's the best way to make sure we're working with actual manufacturer and not a broker of some kind? You want to answer that?
What's the question again?
What's the best way to make sure they're not working with a trade company?
Yeah, so I don't think working with a trade company is always the worst thing in the world. If I'm getting a good price, then maybe I have somebody that provides me really good service. So for me, it really comes down to price. So one of the suppliers I've worked with, I've met them. They're actually a trading company. They took me to the factory when I went to China. They provide great service, and they probably have a very small, 10 cents to 30 cents per unit that they're making, and I'm okay paying that. So I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. I think the bottom line is really that make sure you're negotiating a good price. Marty's asking, what other marketplaces are you looking to sell in? So I'm looking to sell through my own e-commerce site. And then there's other marketplaces like Jet, Walmart, and getting into Amazon in Europe are all things that I'd like to do. But starting out, just Amazon US is the best way to launch products.
Jerry, I see your question. How many products have you launched in the past 2 years? I'm up to about 55 or 60 right now. Again, and out of those 55 to 60, there's a lot of them have like multiple variations under the parent. So right around there. I think that's it, you guys. I don't see any other questions. So we're going to go ahead and log off. I got to get Liran back home so he can get some rest. I can tell that the sickness is really getting him. Thanks a lot again for hanging out with us, everyone. You can go back and watch if you're joining late. We'll upload it here in a second. All right. Thank you guys, and Merry Christmas to everyone.
Thank you.